In this video we're going to look at the structure of DNA, also the differences between DNA and RNA, and then specifically the types of RNA that help in making proteins. If we look at the structure of DNA, we've heard the word chromosomes, we've heard the word DNA, and we've heard the word genes, but we need to know how those three are kind of linked together. So in this picture, I like that it gives you a visual picture here. We have a chromosome. Okay, we've drawn these multiple times. And the chromosome is made up of our double-stranded, double helix DNA. And we know then that the DNA is made up into pieces. These pieces of DNA code for a gene, and or actually they code for a trait, so this is called a gene, excuse me. And this might be the gene for, let's say, your hair color, or it might be the gene to see your blood type. So we have all sorts of different genes that code for different traits. But genes make up your DNA, and your DNA helps to make up your chromosomes. So chromosomes kind of the big topic, the big picture here. Just a definition of genes, we know that this is an important word that we understand. It's come up in multiple units so far. It's a piece of coded DNA, and the instructions of this gene will tell your body what type of protein to produce. So ultimately, the gene is a series of instructions that code for a protein. Now, some differences in RNA and DNA, and we've looked at a few of these already. For instance, the sugar. We know that RNA uses the sugar ribose and DNA uses deoxyribose. We also need to know that RNA and DNA look a little different as far as the number of strands that they have. So RNA is just a single strand. It does not have a complement pair. And the DNA, though, we do know is a double helix. So it has the double strand. And then the third difference, and this one's really important as we get into future videos about transcription and translation and making these proteins, that RNA uses a different nitrogen base, just one different, and that it uses what we call uracil instead of thymine. So RNA does use A and G and C, adenine, guanine, and cytosine, and so does DNA. So those are common bases that they both use, but then they're different in uracil and thymine. If you take a look at the picture, you can see the single strand here. It still will have kind of a spiral shape to it, and the nitrogen bases still stick out as rungs of a ladder. It just isn't paired with another side. We have the cytosine, guanine, adenine, here's uracil. And then on the DNA side, we have the cytosine, we have guanine and adenine, and here we have thymine. So they have different nitrogen bases. They look different as far as just their general shape, single-stranded versus double-stranded. Now, looking at the types of RNA that we have, there are actually 3 different types, and each one helps to make a protein. So when you're asked what do they all have in common, they all help in making a protein. Now they each have a different job, just like you can have, several different people on a team, a baseball team for instance. You have a pitcher, a catcher, you have the different outfield positions and the different base positions, shortstop, so on. All of them are trying to win a baseball game, but they each have a different role in making that happen. Well, the types of RNA, they each have a different job, but the ultimate goal is to make that protein. The first type is called messenger RNA, and we're going to abbreviate that with an M. So when you hear me say mRNA, I'm talking about messenger. And this is the one that carries the message from DNA, which is where those genes are located, and it carries that coded instruction out to the ribosome in the cytoplasm. So the DNA itself cannot leave the nucleus. It's kind of stuck there. It's a good secure place for the DNA to stay since it holds all of our genetic information. And the messenger RNA is kind of the go-between. So it can go get the coded information from DNA and take it to the ribosome, which the ribosome's job then is to make that protein. We also have ribosomal RNA, so that one's going to be abbreviated with the rRNA, and it's just part of the ribosome. So whenever you see a ribosome in a picture and it's labeled a ribosome, part of what makes a ribosome is this ribosomal RNA. So you're not going to see a special structure for it when we say ribosome. That is ribosomal RNA. And then the third type is called transfer RNA. We'll abbreviate that with a tRNA. And its job is to transfer amino acids to the ribosome. Remember that proteins, if we look at the monomer, are made up of amino acids. So in order for a ribosome to make a protein, it needs to have access to amino acids to assemble that together. Now, when we make a protein, there's a few processes that we're going to look at. First of all, those genes that we mentioned, those pieces of DNA, do have all the instructions that we need to make a protein. And we know that there's a gene for hair color, and we have different alleles that are part of that gene. So your DNA might code for brown hair or blonde or red, whereas mine codes for brown. So we are going to have different sequences of DNA based on that type of protein that we need to make. So a person who has red hair has a protein that makes their hair red. A person who has brown hair has a protein that makes their hair brown. So our DNA is different, which gives us a different protein, and that protein then gives us our hair color. Now, to be able to go through the process to make a protein, it's going to require your cell to go through two main stages, and that would be transcription and translation. And in future videos we'll talk about each one, where they take place, and just the general steps that your body goes through or your cell goes through to make those two processes happen.